Okay, we are live. Perfect. Sorry. It's giving me some issues. Okay. There we go. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Round Robin Radio broadcast. My name is Jonathan Bailey, and I'm very pleased to introduce a few special guests to the show. Today, we welcome Daniel Sohn and Imauri Wilson, otherwise known as the cast and crew of the upcoming feature film Three of a Kind, that I also happen to be a part of. With a logline that reads, "A weekly poker night takes a fatal turn when the game's dealer is found stabbed to death." Now, fellow player and undercover detective, Mr. Daniel Sohn, playing Brian Burns, must suss out the culprit before one last poker game that could change his life forever. Set to release on May 8th of this year with a campus premiere at the UNT Dallas Screening Hall, Three of a Kind is a whodunit thriller drama that draws inspiration from classic book-to-screen adaptations of the literary genius Agatha Christie. Think Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, but this time over a poker game in a secluded rural setting. Here to deal if they dare, our cast and crew plans to show their cards as we dive deeper into the origins of the project and each role we play in the production process. Daniel and Imauri, welcome to the show. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves, the roles you're playing, and your duties on set?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Yes, thank you.
I'm Daniel Sohn. I'll be playing Brian Burns in the upcoming feature, Three of a Kind. And I'm excited about it. I mean, I've played a detective in previous films, and like it just kind of feels like I'm not much of an actor, so it feels like my kind of up my alley as far as what I can pull off. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of just show everyone what we've created all the way from the script to the final production.
Of course. And what is normally your role on set?
So I like to kind of just be the producer, just help everyone from, everything from lighting, video, and like I said, I don't really have much acting experience, but if I can help anyway in that way as well. So
I love that. And you, Imauri?
I play Elise, and it's an interesting character because it kind of feels like I can be like kind of myself because she's like really stylish. She's very chill, and that's just my personality in general. So I feel like I'm not much of an actor, but I feel like I can take on the role and play it pretty well. I don't really see a lot of whodunits often, so I think it'll be a very good opportunity for us to showcase our skills with a murder mystery.
Definitely. And what about your involvement on set? Is there normally a role that you gravitate towards?
Usually I'm doing a little bit of everything. I do audio, sometimes I do camera work. Handheld is what I can do like really well. And acting, of course. But for the most part, I really like acting, surprisingly, because I've never seen myself as someone who would just act.
Definitely. I feel like we learn so much about the digital production side of it. We forget that maybe a career in acting is what our future holds. But unfortunately, we do not have one of our group members today, Miss Inyang. She plays Kira, who is kind of the big businesswoman who is very rich and maybe a little cocky about it. But maybe next time she'll join us. But for now, I really wanted to get into the foundation of the project and tell our listeners how it all began. I have questions for each of you guys. I kind of separated a few out just so we could kind of sink our teeth into the kind of the origins of our project. So first, Daniel, your little mini interview. Where did you come up with the idea for Three of a Kind?
Yeah, so as with most of my ideas for stories and films, they just kind of come to me, you know what I mean? It's not like I really had any inspiration at first. But this one, I could definitely credit my group mates like you, Jonathan, Imauri, and Yang, because I didn't really have like a solid idea, but we kind of just started passing around, some ideas. And then once we kind of started talking about what if we go towards like a murder mystery, and I was like, I don't really like horror, I don't really like blood, anything like that. So how can we make that something that I want to do, but that's also really intriguing? And we kind of settled on this. And then as you guys kind of gave me some like examples, like movie examples, stuff like that, I started to watch some of the whodunits, and I realized like I really enjoy these films. Like I can actually sit down and watch this for 2 hours, And so that's kind of the origin, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Thankfully, our film doesn't have to be 2 hours long. That would be a beating for the viewer and for the production team. I also wanted to ask, like, how do you plan to kind of get your vision across to the audience? Like, what visual or narrative steps did you take, like either in writing the script or when we eventually begin shooting?
So one of the most important things with this type of film is the story has to be really good and the script has to have a lot of foreshadowing. So for the story to actually come across correctly, there has to be a proper amount of foreshadowing. The dialogue has to be interesting. And so that obviously is kind of pre-production work in the script. But as far as production, it's just going to come down to obviously executing the script, but then also using production techniques like lighting and just camera movements to kind of pull it all together. So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking of lighting, camera movements, and just the whole production aspect of it, how is this project different from your previous work in digital production? I think it was Amnesia, y'all's first film, and then The Author that we did last semester. How would you say that's different?
Yeah. I think with anything, like the more you do it, just like you can look back at previous things in your life and you just like that person couldn't compare to what I am now. You know, I'm a basketball player. So like whenever I look at my self 2 years ago in basketball, like that player could not compare to me now, you know?
Gotcha,
so it's kind of the same with this. Like, I feel like we have so much more ability now and we can just build on top of it. And so I would say one of the main things I want to focus on in this one is audio, because I've been pretty poor or decent with my audio in the past too. And then also lighting, and we didn't really use any lighting except for just whatever natural lighting in the past one. So I think that those two things can really help our production come through. So.
I love that. And what about you, Imauri? How do you think this project in particular is different from the previous work that we did in DP1?
Well, I think it's very different because in DP1, like Daniel said, we didn't really have like lighting techniques down or anything like that. And we kind of like just, in a sense, winged everything as we went along. And now it seems like we have everything more like put together and things like that.
I definitely. I feel like there's almost a maturity whenever you go from the first course to the second. It almost happens like in the back of your mind, just kind of like, oh, you know, like because a lot of times people say, oh, we know you need to evaluate what you had before and see what you need to change. But I feel like as we go, we're kind of like, yeah, maybe we should fix that, or maybe we should do this differently. I did want to ask you both, what excites you most about Three of a Kind, like whether that's promotions or just kind of bringing the script to life or just the editing process. What about it excites you the most?
Yeah, I guess I can, or you can go.
I think it's very I think it'll be super fun to do because it's a murder mystery and it's like the whole like poker game and things like that. It's like a good spin because you don't really like murder mysteries are always so like cliche, like, oh, it's in a mansion or whatever. Like this is a very different approach to it, and I think that's really exciting.
Oh, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited about just having a location that's not limited. You know, we're going to be using a location where we don't have to worry about access and everything like that. And so I think that'll just help us to just have more creativity and just explore like all the different options we want to without limitations being put on us. So.
Definitely. I think sometimes the more logistical issues of course, that's just how life goes and that's how the production field works. But whenever logistical issues get in the way of the creative vision, it's like very frustrating because it's not necessarily like we don't really have the advantage of maybe other colleges or maybe just independent filmmakers who have these big old grants or all this money. Like we don't have all that, you know, and it's like we're kind of at the mercy of whichever location we choose to shoot at. But I did want to ask both of y'all as well, kind of going more towards the character, like the kind of more the acting, more of the like characterization side. And of course, Daniel wrote our script for us, so we are very thankful for that. What can you tell me about your character that no one else knows, but you do, and it's maybe something that you feel is something that defines them, I guess. I know this is really deep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do know like part of the script and it's not fully fleshed out, but part of it is that my character, like all the people around him don't really know what his line of work. Like they don't know that he's a private investigator. And so I think it adds like a different dynamic because once he kind of reveals that, that's kind of part of the plot. And yeah, I think it just makes his character more interesting because at first he just kind of looks like you don't really know if he's rich or if he's not rich, and then like you don't really know why he's rich if he is, and he just kind of becomes a pivotal character once the murder happens. But before, he might not even be all that interesting to the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that our protagonist is, no, I wouldn't say unreliable, but just the fact that he is a mystery, like even to the audience and to everybody else. I appreciate that. I think that's something new that we haven't seen before, because I feel like almost immediately in every single of these whodunit films, you meet the detective, you know he's a detective, you know his line of work, but it's like the big surprise is that he's done something bad in his past, but the fact that nobody knows you're a detective makes it even more of a surprise whenever we reveal it. Spoiler alert. But Imauri, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, just like I feel like in this kind of movie, like you want to have as many surprises as possible.
Oh yeah.
So why not just add a couple more?
I love that. I think that's great. What about you, Imauri?
With my character, it's interesting because from a viewer's perspective, you think you know her, like, you know, she's successful, wealthy, and has her life together. But there's a lot of deep undertones that I think her character will subtly show throughout the film. And then once it's revealed, people will be like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Like, I feel like she has like a lot of depth underneath all the like kind of cockiness and being like the wealthiest in the room, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that adds so much, of course, like you said, depth to her character. Just I feel like I do like the aspect of it, the fact that everybody's mysterious and that you don't just come out with like, this is this person. And it's like, we were thinking about going with the idea of like Agatha Christie does a lot of stereotypes, and not racial stereotypes, more of the like the detective, I'm trying to come up with the ones that aren't offensive. So I'm like, no, not even in the way, but it's like, say, the detective, the mom, the businesswoman, like that sort of thing, just kind of work within those. But I think I like it better that we went with a more mysterious route of the fact that everybody's kind of an unknown, like, kind of just these small facts about them, but that's going to really deter you from realizing who the killer is in the end, and just those sort of things. So I really appreciate how we we worked together, and Daniel was kind of like the leader of writing the script. Like he's always been really good at storytelling and like really good with connecting dialogue and creating dynamics between characters, which is so important. But I also wanted to ask y'all as well, what area do you think you're most skilled in the production phase? Like, of course, we talked about like the roles that we sometimes inhabit on set, but what is it? Whether it's pre-production, production, or post-production, where do you think you shine the most?
I feel like for me personally, with like doing a lot of handheld camera work, because in the last 2 films we did, I did like really good handheld camera work with like panning and like just being able to keep the camera steady and holding it. But I also do think that with each film, my acting improves slightly. I mean, I'm not the best, but I do think this film I'm gonna be a lot better with acting and how I approach my character. I'm gonna try to really get into the character and not just read from off the script, but like, you know, do a little improv, things like that.
Definitely. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I think I would have to probably say post-production, just editing and stuff like that, because, well, I'll actually add 2 in there. Just like script writing and kind of storytelling, like you were saying, and then post-production, because they're really one and the same. Like, it's just one is creating the story, and like I already see it in my head. Like I see it existing before it exists, and so the post-production part is just making that actually happen. And so they just feel very tied together, and like it just makes like sense to me, like the non-linear editing or whatever. Like it just makes sense that like I'm basically just putting together the pictures I already had in my head, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, I was kind of reading the description. I saw that you already had shots, and I was like, oh, he is very prepared, because I'm like, that's kind of some of the hardest parts of pre-production is the storyboarding, because it's like you want to make your shots impactful, but you also want them to be symbolic and like sometimes even foreshadow events to come. But thank y'all for sharing. But I did want to ask you one last question, and this one's a doozy. Have you ever actually played poker before? I know we were talking about this earlier, but I myself have never.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a few movies about it, but Daniel actually seems to know a lot about it. I was reading the script and I was like, what are these words? Like a flush, a hand. I was like, interesting. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I've never even played spades. Like Uno is what I'm good at.
Yes, Uno. Okay, put your money on Uno.
Well, yeah, I played spades and I played poker. I just kind of started playing, honestly, and I've never played like in a real like setting. I just play with my brothers and stuff, and put a little bit of money on the line. But in real
you're
life,
losing money to your brothers? Oh, I thought you were going to the casino. I was like, oh, the brothers are even worse. Now they can just, what's it called, wave it in your face.
Yeah, they've made quite a bit of money off of me. But yeah, I kind of got some inspiration as well, just from like watching some of the 007s, like Casino Royale.
Yes.
And just seeing how they executed their poker scenes was really cool. And so I kind of wanted to add that into art. So. Yeah.
And I think there was, I think Professor Otteson specified that he wanted us to kind of explain where like our taglines came from. Like, I think we came up with "Deal if you dare," and it's like I think that kind of originated. It's like I was thinking whenever we were kind of coming up with that, I was thinking like deal or die, but it's like that's not what this is. Like this isn't like you have a target on your back, or you have a little red dot in between your eyes, like oh, you got to deal the right card. So it's like I think "Deal if you dare" worked, because it's like there is a part of the plot that we won't share, but it does come down to it. That this kind of, like, I know you said Casino Royale, it kind of ends up a little bit like a Royale. It's basically, without spoiling too much, the dealer of our game is murdered, and then after the investigation, it is a fight to the death, but not in terms of like physical weapons, any of that stuff. It's more of a mind game that is within a final poker game, emphasis on the word final. But thank y'all so much for coming in and for taking the time to sit down and let me interview y'all. I'm very excited about our film. I'm very excited to work with my group. I found my group or my people last semester, and I think we work really well together, and I so appreciate y'all allowing me to come in and be a part of things. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to the special edition of the Round Robin Radio with our incredibly talented guests, Daniel Sohn and Imauri Wilson. Mark your calendars on May 8th and prepare to be amazed as myself and the cast and crew of Three of a Kind present our newest feature film to an audience of students, faculty, and family members. Deal if you dare, and stay tuned for more here on the Round Robin Radio.
Inyang is here.
You're kidding. No way. Hold up. I just did the whole exit. Come on in, Inyang. Oh my goodness. No way. Everybody clap. Hold up. Inyang is here. Yeah. Oh my gosh, how special. And just in time. Okay, apologies, Round Robin Radio listeners, that there are none of. Inyang is here, so we will get her side of things. Hello, Inyang. Welcome to the pod, although it's just the Round Robin Radio show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, always a pleasure. So I basically kind of went through a lot of the production, the acting, the storytelling, just kind of those aspects with Daniel and Imauri, and I wanted to get your take on a few things.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask, what excites you most about Three of a Kind?
I really think it's the genre.
The genre.
I think it's really doing it in this state, I guess, in this just in this capacity. I feel like it's experimental, and we can just do it the way that we want to do it. This is like such a classic genre of film, and so I think it's really cool to to be exploring that at school.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I completely agree. I did also want to ask you more of like how you, of course, how Daniel wrote the script and wrote your character, like how you plan to like characterize your character, or just kind of what it is about your character that no one else knows, or what maybe we can just take a peek into your brain and see what you plan or how you plan to play Kira.
I think she's supposed to be really fierce in my mind.
Yes,
So
fierce.
when I read the tagline about like the short description about the character, I was like, okay, I think she's gonna have a backstory that nobody knows about. And it's why she's so tough, and it's why she comes across the way that she does. So I think I want to play into that because she's super successful. She dresses well. All of this is just to make her feel really good about herself because of what she went through in her past.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Definitely. I love that. I also love the aspect of the past too, that she has a backstory, because I don't know, sometimes whenever we get into short films, we don't really have time to like explain the backstory, but I like that you're like we can hint at it, or just her behavior in general kind of has to do with that. I also wanted to ask you, how do you showcase your filmmaking expertise on set? Like, what role do you find yourself in normally, and where do you think you shine the most when it comes to the actual like production part?
I think,
and don't say acting. Okay? We're all like,
Dang.
besides me, I think we all can act in here. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not a big actor, but y'all got it down. Still got to work on it. I'm kind of just play the mean character that most of the time. That's my go-to. But I got to take some classes.
And that works. I think definitely framing. I think I see things in a way that I feel like is unique to me at times, and I like to frame shots very specifically. So that's just one aspect of it. And filmmaking is something that I want to grow and learn more about. So working with stills, framing is a very important aspect of it. So now we have moving stills that we're working with. And I'm like, okay, I want to take that part that I do with, static images and bring it here to motion picture. And I really want to get into, setting the tone as well with the colors and everything. So yeah, those are two things that I think I really try to focus on really well.
I appreciate that. I think color grading is really important. And also, I think you have a really good eye for framing and just kind of, I think it's either called the golden rule, or it's, what is it called? Isn't it
rule of thirds?
Rule of thirds.
You were there.
Rule of thirds.
You were right there.
I know. Yeah, I probably should know better. But definitely. And also, I did want to ask you, how is this project kind of different from the previous work that you did in DP1? Like either with me, or me, with all of us, or just Daniel and Imauri, kind of how is it a little different?
I would say it's more experimental. It's a larger project from what was done in DP1. So we really have to get really creative because there's some large expectations set on us, and I think there's going to be more dialogue with the character that I have, as opposed to maybe other roles that I've had. Don't get me wrong; they've been like more. I played more main characters, but
period. Period. She knows her worth. Everybody,
please
get her IMDb out. Pull it up,
please. So with this one, it seems like I need to be like a lot more specific with, I was talking about the wardrobe and everything like that.
Yes.
So that wasn't always super consistent, I want to say, in previous roles.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Do you have any ideas of like what you want for the wardrobe? Like, I know probably some suits, maybe some like just business casual attire, I assume.
You got it. The suits are definitely what come to mind for me first. Maybe do some super ties or something. I don't know.
Yes, I love that. And with everything going on with all of our production and everything we're looking forward to, and just all the insights you shared, your opinions and just your what you're looking forward to in the project. I did want to ask, because I also asked Daniel and Imauri, have you actually played poker before?
I have not. I don't think I'm. No,
Mhm.
no, I haven't. So that'll be something interesting to do.
Definitely.
Have you?
No, definitely
Okay,
not.
look at that.
I was like, when I was like reading Daniel's script, I said this earlier, but I'm reading through these words and I was like, what? I'm like, what is that? And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, there's not necessarily a definition of Merriam-Webster's. You got to go on another website, like one of those, like a kind of like a poker wiki or a Pokerpedia. I don't know if that's a thing.
It sounds like Daniel's gonna have to teach us then.
Yes,
He's gonna walk us
Daniel,
through it for sure.
Maybe he did that on purpose.
Probably.
Period.
I've been wanting to learn for sure, so this will be fun.
I think it'll be really interesting. And I think I was kind of reading through, and I think Professor Otteson might have misunderstood our plot line. And he was like, whoever loses the game, or whoever it's whoever wins the game goes to jail. I was like, that's not it. It's like, that's not it. Because we'd be there for years just being like, it's like we would just play the worst hands ever. And it's like, but at the same time, it's like I can see how that would be interesting. Like, you win all this money, but you have to go to jail. But that's not really what we were going with. Like, we're kind of, without spoiling it too much, we are kind of going with the opposite. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see the dynamics of our characters. I think me and Inyang get into it, which I'm kind of down for. Like, you are a worthy adversary. Me over here being this evil little like person's nephew who's like, I hate my uncle, and it's like, period. Like, I never really knew any of my uncles that well. They all live in other states, but it's like, hey, I can be mean to, what is it, your brother? Oh no, we should have had him come. I was like, but yes, I'm very excited for our production. I think it will be so fun. I think it will be really interesting to have a very different environment. I think we're so used to shooting at school, kind of maybe the freedom that we can have of shooting off campus and not having to worry about our permits, or like Daniel said, just access to everything, which is kind of a pain, I have to be honest. And we know who to thank for that. It's not Professor O, okay? It's a student that came before us whose name won't be mentioned because I have respect for him. But thank you. I'm just called you Imauri. Hold up. Thank you, Inyang. Thank you, Imauri. Thank y'all. Thank you, Daniel. I so appreciate y'all coming in. Any last thoughts? Anything y'all would like to say to the audience tuning in? No.
Check us out.
Definitely.
Just wait and see.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think you're prepared. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I think all of us, like maybe even Daniel, I don't even think we know who's the killer yet. Like, that's how Agatha Christie worked. As she was writing her script, she changed the killer. She said, oh, you thought wrong. So we are very excited. Like I said before, mark your calendars for May 8th and prepare to be amazed as Three of a Kind premieres at the UNT Dallas Screening Hall in Founders Hall, I think it is. I'm not sure what the room number is, but we'll give you the deets later. Deal if you dare, and stay tuned for more at the Round Robin Radio. Say bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank y'all for tuning in.